Okay, so in the first video I explained the difference between simple and compound interest and did an example of both. Now what I'm going to do is apply those ideas to the rest of the questions. $600 is invested for 3 years at a rate of 2.5% compound interest. I want to calculate the total value of the investment at the end of the 3 years. So, if I am increasing if I am increasing at 2.5%, then I'm going to be left with 102.5% at the end of that increase. This is, of course, 1.025 as a decimal, because that percentage sign tells me to divide by 100, and that's what I get after dividing by 100. I want to work out 102.5% of that $600. And because it's compound interest and it's happening for 3 years, I need to apply that 2.5% increase 3 times. In compound interest, it appears up here as a power. Now all I do is type that calculation into my calculator, and I'm getting $646.13. Oh dear. $646.13. So there's my answer. In the next question, £500 is deposited in a bank paying 1.25% simple interest per annum. Per annum simply means per year. How much interest will be paid after 2 years? So for simple interest, I first of all want to work out 1.25% of 500. That is 0.0125, I divided by 100 because that's what the percentage sign tells us to do, times, because that's what the of tells us to do, 500. This works out 1.25% of 500. And by the way, you might be using the percentage key on your calculator. That's absolutely fine. Everything will work in exactly the same way. Just be careful with your increases and decreases. So 1.25% of 500 is 6.25, £6.25. So every year I get £6.25. So after 2 years, how much interest is how much extra? I will have £6.25 twice, which is going to be £12.50. The total value of my investment will be £512.50, but they're only asking for the extra amount. When they ask for the interest, they're asking for the extra amount. So I just work out that little percentage increase. Francesca needs to buy computer equipment. She borrows £2,000 from a bank for 3 years at a rate of 5% per year compound interest, and we want to know how much she must pay back at the end of the 3 years. This works exactly the same way as saving money, except the bank is using you as the savings account, I guess. So I need to work out, because it's compound interest, a 5% increase. That's 105% of the 2,000. And that's going to be for 3 years, so it's going to be to the power of 3. 105% is 1.05 as a decimal, to the power of 3 times 2,000. And we work that out. 1.05 to the power of 3 times 2,000 gives me 2,315.25. And that's how much she's going to have to give back to the bank at the end of those 3 years. Adila invests $1,200 at a rate of 2.6% per year compound interest. We want to calculate the value of her investment at the end of 2 years. So compound interest, I need to work out what 2.6% will be as an increase. That is 102.6% for 2 years to the power of 2 times 1,200. 1.02 1.026 squared times 1,200 gives me my calculation. 1.026 squared times 1,200 is 1,263.21. That's the value of her investment at the end of 2 years. £4,800 is deposited in a bank paying 3% simple interest per year. Remember, per annum just means per year. How much interest, so what's the extra amount going to be, after 10 years? So for simple interest, I want to do something simple. I just want to work out 3% of 4,800. 3% of 4,800 is 0.03 dividing by 100, like percentage sign tells me to do, times 4,800. So if I do that on my calculator, I get 144. So every year, she gets £144 added to her bank account. That's what simple interest does. After 10 years, she'll get 144 10 times £1,440. And that is the interest that's been paid after 10 years. If I wanted the total value of the bank account, I'd have to add that to the 4,800, but that's not what this question is asking. It just wants the interest, what she gets given. Jeff invests $3,600 for 3 years at 6% per year compound interest, and I want to know how much he's got at the end of the 3 years. So, 6% increase is 106%, 1.06, once I've done the divide by 100. It's going for 3 years, compound interest, so I do something more complicated. I do the power of 3, times by 3,600. 106% of 3,600, 3 times for the compound interest, and that goes straight to my calculator, and I work it out. 4,287.66. And that's my answer. Priya invested $2,000 for 3 years at 2.6% per year compound interest, and I want the value of the investment at the end of 3 years. So 2.6% increase is 102.6%, or 1.026 as a multiplier. I need to do that for 3 years, and I'm doing that of 2,000. A 2.6% increase applied 3 times to that $2,000. And I worked that out. $2,160.09, and that's the total value after those 3 years. So I've mentioned this a couple of times as I go along. A very straightforward rule to follow is for simple interest, do something simple, and for compound interest, do something more complicated. Neither of these things are particularly complicated, but it's certainly more complicated to work out a percentage increase, multiplier, and give it a power than it is just to work out the percentage and add it on. Now here's another question where we're comparing 2 different savings plans, but in this case, they're both compound interest. And I'll address this one and the rest of the questions in the next video.